Shabbat Shalom, family. It's Ty with the Intuitive Cosmic family. Hope you guys are having a beautiful Sabbath. Me and the family are continuing to read the King James Version of Deuteronomy. Today we begin with Deuteronomy's chapters 5, and we read through 9. And so we're going to discuss about some things that stood out to us most, what Spirit brought us to, and what we've learned. Make sure you like, subscribe, and join the page. You share and make comments and join the discussion and let us know about what Spirit brought you to while reading these chapters of Deuteronomy, which is chapters 5 through 9. Any takeaways that you have, let us know. Leave a comment below.
Hey, this is Alasia, and what stood out to me was in Deuteronomy's chapter 5, verses 13 and verses 14. 6 days thou shalt labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thine ox, nor thine ass, nor any of thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates, that thy manservant and thy maidservant may rest as well as thou. This stood out to me because one, it said 6 days thou shalt work and labor, and on the seventh day thou shalt rest. And it also includes that if you have a maid or somebody who is working for you or cleans for you, that person shall also rest on the seventh day and shall not be doing any work. And the seventh day is Saturday, and that's the day that everybody should not be doing work, and should not be cooking on the stove until sundown.
This is Leah. What stuck out to me, one of the first things that stuck out to me was Deuteronomy chapter 8, verses 2 and 4. And thou shalt remember all the way which the Lord thy God led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee and to prove to thee, to know what was in thine heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandment or no. Thy raiment waxed not old upon thee, neither did thy foot swell these 4 years. This stood up to me because basically the Lord was saying that he led the children of Israel through the 40 years, not to punish them, but to humble them, so that they can finally learn that that God is with them and that he's on their side and stuff. Because they keep complaining and they just keep getting themselves into things, and he just keep trying to show them in different ways that that they need to get it together and they need to believe in him and not these false images or nothing like that. And even though he's humbling them, he's still like giving them the food and the water that they need. And in verse 4, when he says that these 40 years thy feet did not swell, you basically saying even though you walk for these 40 years, your feet are still intact and they're still fine.
Right. They didn't give out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because how many people would have been able to endure such a journey?
Yeah.
You know, that's always what stuck out for me too. Great. So for me is chapter 6 of Deuteronomy, verse 4 through 8. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, and with all thine soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by thy way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hand, and they shall be as a frontlets between thine eyes. So this is very powerful for me because it also makes me realize how we have been easily led astray by ourselves and by our forefathers, you know, not just even in this book, but like even just recently in the last few hundred years, because or even thousands of years, because we have allowed things like this to fall by the wayside. He's saying you have this instruction, but the only way that it's going to continue on is if we keep talking about it, right? He's saying when you in your house, when you taking that walk, when you on your way somewhere, when you getting ready to go down, lay down to go to sleep, you should always be speaking about the Lord, excuse me, and in the laws and the judgments, and teach it to your children, right? There's so many things culturally and spiritually that have continuous been passed down, but I feel like a lot of like law and spirituality has been mismanaged. We've had a lot of people come in and try to, throw us curveballs, right? Within our very own community, not even outside of our community, right? We've got a lot of people who come in and try to create, confusion at the end of the day, and try to draw our attention every which ways. And then you have a lot of people who are saying they're following our original, laws and judgments, but these people at the end of the day, they are serving, dark spirits behind closed doors, right? And so this is why I have to teach y'all above all else is intuition, right? Is the ability to see through people. And it's going to irritate a lot of people in your lives when you get to a point where you can really tell like people aren't who they say they are, because it's unfortunate that is what it is. But a lot of people come, wearing fake cloth and clothing, right? They're wolves in sheep's clothing, as they say. And they'll tell you that they come, those are the people you got to almost worry about more than the people when you see them and the things they do and say that, oh, that's a heathen right there. It's more so the people you think are good, right? And just being aware and realizing that we do have law, we do have judgment, we are being judged by the Most High God, right? At the end of the day, and we just have to keep His commandment and keep His word, because, like He's saying, His word is the power, right? He is the power, and with Him we have all power. We can do all things through Him, and that was being spoken in the very beginnings of chapter 5. I mean, that's all they spoke about is, why are you fearful? I'm not dealing with a fearful people. I done showed you time and time again that with me, there is no falling, right? With me, there is no plunder. You will be a people who live. You will be a people who are a favor. You are above all things. Like how high up He holds us, but like we also, it has to be very reciprocal. Like any relationship, if God is telling us He holds us up in this high place, we need to hold Him up in a high place too. There's no need to think we can only honor Him at certain times. We need to honor Him at all times by the way we live, by the way we speak, and the way we treat each other. And also passing this on as a stronghold and not wavering when it comes to our children, right? Because we as parents are our children's first teachers. We know we have to be teaching our children the word, and very more importantly, the right word, right? Who and what are we calling God by, right? Which day are we practicing Sabbath? With foods and with things, right? We got the instruction right here. Some of these very people who are cherry picking the Bible, who are going off and doing their own things, you're listening to a preacher or a pastor or a song more so than what your spirit and guidance has led you to, or even the very own Bible you claim to read. You're doing what you want to do, not what God has instructed you to do. You have all these Bibles out here, and guess what? There's so many good books that were supposed to be a part of the Bible, and we know they're not. And they call them the lost books or the hidden, and they're out there for you to find and read. Start reading them. Start speaking with your ancestors. Start reconnecting with Mother Nature, and evolving yourself to the point where when someone's misdirecting you, when something's right or wrong, and you have to fix it and come to that conclusion, because you should have the strongest relationships in your life, whether you're the child or the adult, should be with the Most High God, right? So this is the person we're always going to and asking, for, um, to conclude everything in our lives, right? This is who we're going to and asking for verification from. No one else. Because otherwise you're going to end up dealing with people who are going to lead you astray, whether it's purposefully or not. But that's up to you. You have a life to live. You have the responsibility, and that falls on your shoulder. And making sure you pass these words on to your children.
Hey, this is Leah again, and the second thing that stuck out to me today was in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 16. Ye shall not tempt the Lord God, your God, as ye tempted him in Massa. This verse stood out to me because God is telling people not to test him or to challenge him by like basically demanding proof from him and stuff like that, and showing that basically asking him to show proof of if he's like if he has true power, because in Manasseh people were doubting him and stuff like that. So that's why it stood out to me.
Okay. Yes, people tend to want to doubt the Lord or tempt him by, oh, okay, maybe I can get away with doing something, not realizing like just because God said you're favored doesn't mean you're not going to end up in judgment, right? Yeah, no, you still have judgment coming. Leah, did you want to go next, or you want me to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Another thing that spoke out to me, should I say, today, was in Deuteronomy chapters 5, verse 32. It says, Ye shall observe to do therefore as the Lord your God hath commanded you. Ye shall not turn aside to the right hand or to the left. Okay, it says 33, Ye shall walk in all the ways which the Lord your God hath commanded you, that ye may live, and that it may be well with you, that ye may prolong your days in the land which you shall possess. So it's basically saying like, it's gonna be times where you feel like you supposed to go one way or another. No, it goes back to that saying with, throughout the Bible, the straight and narrow, right? The walk with God is straight. You want to walk with the devil, you gonna make turns, right? So just keep going straight ahead. It's like, when your parents tell you, hey, I need you to get down somewhere and go to the store. It's straight ahead, right? Don't turn, don't do nothing. Just keep going straight. And as you walking along that street, you're going to see something that looks real beautiful. Because remember, a lot of times these things that's going to try to keep you from making to your path, they're not always going to be ugly and scary where you realize right away that's what it is. It might be fun. It might look beautiful or handsome. It might be, seem like it's going to come with a lot of money or a lot of material things or whatever it may be. It might be some type of instruction, right? Or person directing you. But you have to remember what you were first told, right? This is, come back into that original instruction. I told you to get to that market, right? To that promised land. You need to just keep going straight. You don't need to turn left. You don't need to turn right. And there's no need to even be looking that way, okay? Though there's no need to go aside yourself. You're going straight. It's the straight and narrow, okay? That's the way to heaven. That's the way to, like he said, this is a way to a long life. That's a prolonged and not shortened, right? And a way for you to continue to possess the land that God gave you. So that stood out for me.
Another thing that stuck out to me was chapter 7, verse 25. The graven images of their gods shall ye burn with fire. Thou shalt not desire the silver or gold that is on them, nor take it unto thee, lest thou be snared therein, for it is an abomination to the Lord thy God. This is important because many times throughout the Bible and the Jubilees, the Lord tells us to not worship these graven images, whether these graven images are of deities or they are even graven images of people in the Bible. He basically letting us know that we should not be basically, it's like it's kind of going against what faith is. Basically, like what faith, you don't have to necessarily see what it is to believe in it. So basically, he's upset with the fact that people are making their own image of what they think someone looks like, and it could be very incorrect, and it's also disrespectful as well, because basically you're glorifying of what someone could be or someone couldn't be, and it's going against the Bible and the faith, whether it's a figure of the Bible or a deity.
Right. And we know from our times right now, a lot of this stuff of, graven images, most of them is what he's talking about too, is false gods, right? Mm-hmm. And then not only that, we're going deeper into what has that brought us to, right? Because then that has gotten a lot of people by the wayside with believing certain people look a certain way, right? And it may be a falsehood, an idea of what these people look like, right? Or this person looks like, when the whole point of it is God is working with us through what? Through spirit, not through an image, not how we look. It's about how spirit moves us. It's about the powers that we have that have been gifted to us through the soul, right? The ability to tap in and speak to the most high God, right? Because he's a powerful God, and he is ultimately the one who extends that power back to us. And we certainly don't need a graven or false image or a statue to get that done. Nor silver or gold, right? He didn't ask us for any of that when he saved us and got us out of Egypt. He didn't ask for any of that for any of these battles that, they have seen or overcome. So great. So for me, it goes on throughout chapter 8. It's basically verse 11 through the end, chapter 20. And it's basically God saying, beware that thou forget not the Lord thy God, and not keeping his commandments and his judgments and his statutes when I command thee this day. And the unfortunate portion of this is God knows everything, right? He can foresee. And so, and remember, this is Moses speaking to them, and he's letting them know, like, he already know y'all about to backslide. So it's speaking, it's trying to give you warning, it's trying to give you a further instruction. He's constantly repeating this, right? But he knows these people are very stiff-necked people, that a lot of them are going to end up backsliding. Another portion about this too, earlier on, it was speaking about how God and why God chose us. He said, I didn't choose you because you were the mightiest or the largest population. I chose you because you were the few. And so when I think about that, I think about spiritually, right? Because, even though we hear a lot about how so many people did backslide, so many of them had such strong faith. And that's why I say always look into, not saying it's not in the Holy Bible, but there's so many other books that were taken out of the Holy Bible. And there's so many, renditions of people fighting for the good Lord, and being prophets and prophetess, and and even priests and their high priest, should I say high priestess, and they're telling you the faith that they put in, what it took to fight for their people, you know what I'm saying, and how they put their life on the line, or their people put their life on the line to do what's right, to not be backsliders, to be people who follow through. So we know that while there's very many people in this congregation who have backslid, and the God had punished them, we know there's a good amount of people who really, love God with their whole heart, as he was saying in chapter 6. He's saying, don't. This goes back to, we're not loving God with a partial heart, right? We got to love God with our whole heart, and that's what he's saying. So it's only going to work if we do it wholeheartedly and holistically, and we add God into every single thing that we're doing. Otherwise, it's just not going to work out, as we see. And he goes on to say, a lot of these things, a lot of these people are feeling this way too, because they believe that they've became wealthy or have gotten their goods at this point. He's saying, y'all gonna get big headed. I know you are. You're gonna start forgetting how and where you came from and why, and you gonna get this stuff, and you gonna start saying it was me, like, I did this, I'm the reason why I did that, I right? Not forgetting to give the glory and the honor to the Most High God, because your people could not even be here if it wasn't for him. Your whole, there's literally people to this day that are no longer, they're extinct, like a dinosaur. You know what I'm saying? There's nations and groups of people who were never able to survive, or families and lineages to this day who haven't recouped, right? Their lineage did not, they didn't make it past, they didn't natural select into this lifetime, okay? So, and here you are thinking somehow, the things you got, material at that, are only because, and some of these people, even some of their spiritual, right? They might have spiritual powers or certain talents that God has gifted them, and they're misusing them, and they think that it came from some deity or from some dark magic, some voodoo, or some misbelief of where they could have came from, because they don't want it. You know what I'm saying? Not realizing these things can all backfire. All of this can end up leaving you very abruptly, you know, because of where you think it comes from. You think it comes solely from you and not a gift from the Most High God, right? And so we just have to be mindful of that, about being humble and about acknowledging the Most High God. And like I said, just being inclusive, including Him into every part of our life, so that we don't forget, so that we don't uh, be led astray or lead others astray. Others being our children, should we have children, or others in our community that we should be giving the good word to, and not a false word or a word of frightenness, right? Of fear. And that stood out for me too. Like, don't ever be afraid of these people. And I see a lot of people who say they believe in God, and they might not even be a pastor or preacher, just everyday people. And the first thing they want to teach you when certain stuff is going on in your country or around the world, oh, this is gonna happen to you next, and all of this stuff. But you teaching stuff God wouldn't want us. That's not what He wants us to be like. He just said you shouldn't be afraid of anything. I'm gonna make all of these people small in your face, in their face. They will see who is mighty. So why would you be preaching and teaching and speaking to people to be afraid, to be fearful and affrighted of someone or something or some place or somebody? That's not godlike. Don't ever put, the Most High God in that type of, you know what I'm saying? That's not God speaking through you or to you, and for you to be, promoting to other people in the community, right? Because it sounds to me, what I got from Spirit is that He wants us to be very much, people who are confident in ourselves and our power that God bestowed upon us, should we continue to love Him and give Him the fulfillment that He's asking for us wholeheartedly. We're wholeheartedly fulfilling His judgment and His law accordingly. Because He's saying, as long as we do that, we're going to have a fruitful and a longevity life. So why am I fearful of these groups of people or these things that could be going on or happening? That just doesn't sound right to me. Yeah. I don't think people need to continue to preach like that. These people are not people who come bearing God's word, because I've never read a part of the Bible where it's been saying that God said for us to be fearful, or you're next, or your time is up, or none of this stuff. It's just saying do God's will and His law, and things are going to work itself out. So I can't live my life being fearful or affrighted or worried or feeling outnumbered or anything else, right? Because at the end of the day, it's always about might and strength and power, not about numbers or who it is, what title they come through or with. That can't be what discourages me. So if anyone has anything else left to say. Okay. All right. So we're going to end here. Everybody, I'm glad that you came and stopped by. Please like, share, comment, subscribe to the page, and let us know what you got out of Deuteronomy. We read the King James Version, but Deuteronomy chapters 5 through 9. Okay. So peace and blessings, family. Until the next Sabbath session. Much love.